Hello, friends. Chris Coursey and Jen Coursey here, and I want to welcome you to the Relational Skills in Real Life podcast. Today's episode is the 100th episode. This is a big deal. 100 podcasts that we've been releasing here, and we wanted to do something special today. And we're going to focus really on how to practice what we preach and why do we try to practice what we preach? Why is this important? And friends, this is a little break from a series of interviews that we've been doing with our team and our trainers who've been sharing a lot about relational skills. And we're taking a little pause here to just celebrate 100 episodes. We're just really excited about this, and it's still setting in that it's been 100 episodes.
Mm.
So, what we want to do here is really share a little bit about why we do what we do. Why do we have this podcast where we're able to talk about relational skills and how relational skills affect our lives? And Jen, what's important to you here? What do you want to say to people?
Well, I just thought it would be fun today to talk about why is our podcast story based? We have a few reasons that it's story based, really. One of them is Chris and I have long felt that God's calling for us is to live what we're teaching and training, and then to share the story of it. So for us, um, we we feel it's important to practice what we preach. Which I think a lot of people do, but these relational skills have changed our lives. And in fact, I remember years ago when Jim Wilder was talking to you and said, Chris, there's lots of good things to teach out there, but if it hasn't changed your life, let somebody else teach it. So focus on the things that have changed your life. And these relational skills really have completely changed our lives. They have become a bedrock for so many things. And so we feel blessed to be able to do something so impactful in our ministry, for others, but also the ways that it's impacted us. And that and tell the story piece. So live what we teach and train and tell the story of it. Um, I have to admit, sometimes that part's harder for me, because it feels vulnerable. It feels really vulnerable because the other piece of this is we don't teach and train it because we do it perfectly. We've been practicing these relational skills for almost 25 years now. Um, and even with 25 years of experience, we are not perfect. We still make mistakes. We still fall in holes. We still have regrets. We still have moments where we go, ooh, that was not my best self. I did not use my relational skills well right there. I slipped into enemy mode, those kind of things.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what people have appreciated, honestly, is that um, we share our weaknesses, we share our brokenness, we share our failures with the hopes that it actually encourages people that, wow, well, if the Courseys mess up, then hey, that's okay when I mess up. And that really is the easy yoke that we want to pass along here, that God is very tender with our weaknesses.
And that's been one that has been something that the Lord has been teaching me. I was one that really wasn't good with weakness, especially in myself. And that tenderness towards weakness has been really transformative for me as He's been working on me in that and has allowed me to share vulnerably when I mess up. You may have noticed in my blog that often my stories are how I did not do something perfectly as a parent or as a mom. Um, but we love getting to live this, um, mess ups and all, and then getting to share the story with you. Um,
Yeah, and the nice thing about relational skills is it certainly helps us better live from the heart that Jesus gave us, but it also helps us when we recover to keep our relationships intact and to be able to recover when things go wrong back to joy and peace. And so we feel like that's an important part of what God has called us to do is simply to share our lives, to live what we preach, and to share the times when we drop the ball and when we mess up, to know that God is very tender with our weaknesses, and those hard places are actually where sometimes God seems to do some of his best work in us. And there's a certain openness when we mess up. And so we really want this podcast to be an encouragement for all of you as you listen, as you hear stories. One of the things we learned early on is that stories are impactful when it comes to um, growing maturity and learning relational skills. It helps to hear a story and see an example of times where people were able to use relational skills in some way and what that was like, or when they messed up, how they use relational skills to mess up. And so while we love to teach, and this could easily be a teaching podcast where we just unpack the theory and the brain science, we really want to share the gold of the examples with ourselves, with our team, with our trainers, and just with this Life Model Thrive Today community of people who are really trying to grow and be the people that God created them to be. So it's our hope and it's our prayer that you enjoy these stories and that you enjoy the podcast as a way to really cast a vision for what life can look like. And friends, it's been a lot of fun, to be honest with you, to be training relational skills all of these years. I don't know where we would be, to be honest with you, if we hadn't had relational skills. And I can remember early on in this journey, it really helped me to spend time with Dr. Wilder, watching him, and time with Kitty Wilder, and watching both of them as they live life and as they, stayed themselves so well and so beautifully. I remember being deeply impacted by their example. And so now I feel like we're passing on, some of the good stuff that we've received from the people that God's placed in our lives. And so we hope that this is a special resource for you that encourages you and inspires you along your growth journeys. And any other thoughts you want to share, Jen?
Just on the importance of stories, I know our brain thinks in pictures, and I know there are times when I hit a spot in life where I'm like, I really don't like how I do this, but I don't actually know a different way to do this. And my brain is just missing an example. And so that's one of the reasons I love stories, because they help our brain picture what's possible when we haven't seen it before. And so I know that's been really helpful for me in finding new pathways, finding new ways to do things, is hearing somebody's story of something I hadn't actually seen before.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me that your brain's identity center in the right hemisphere really learns from examples. It learns from models. It learns from watching and hearing people. And you know what? It doesn't learn from just having good information thrown at you. Your brain's identity center really needs that model, that picture, that example of, hey, show me how to do this. Or as Paul said in some of his writings, the things that you've seen me do, follow me, imitate me, follow my example. And so we're just so grateful for these opportunities that God has given the ministry to share life-giving examples with you as your brain's identity center continues to look for those examples to say, hey, how do I be me right now? What does it look like? And that's why these stories are so helpful.
Mhm.
So what should we leave them with today as they think about all of this?
Well, if this is inspiring you to grow your own skills, we have a lot of resources on the thrivetoday.org website. That's a great place to look for resources if you want to grow some of your skills. And if you want more stories, I mean, we have 100 episodes now. So if you're just joining us recently, the other thing we've tried to do is keep these episodes short. So binging, catching up on the episodes is a lot easier when they're about 10 minutes each. So go back and listen to the old stories, even if you've heard them before. Pick some favorites, go listen to them again. I know for me, hearing a story more than once can be doubly impactful.
Mm. And we hope that you'll also share this with your friends or family members. We believe the world needs relational skills, friends. We're very passionate about this. We believe God's people will benefit from learning to keep relationships bigger than problems and staying a more relational, joy-filled person. So, yeah, share the good stuff. And it's our prayer that this will be the start of something good for you today.